All right. Today's study is based on double worship throughout the ages, which will result in the fulfillment of Ezekiel 9 and the sealing of the 144,000. Let me go to the chat. By observing this chart, the history of Sabbath and Sunday observance, or true worship and false worship, will be noticed. I go to this one here. In the beginning, the Lord created Adam and Eve and placed the holy couple in the garden of God. But our first parents transgressed the counsel of the Most High and sinned, entered the Eden home. In order to preserve his plan or his original plan for the human family, he was compelled to remove our parents from their Edamic abode. To them were born sons and daughters. You can see Genesis chapter 5, verse 4. Their first two sons are brought to our attention by the scriptures in a contrast that is most striking and one that should be carefully considered by every professor of religion. Now, the sacred and religious worship of the firstborn in the human family revealed that the Savior of the world had made known the divine plan of salvation to the family of Adam. Their system of worship, being devised by the Creator Himself, was perfect and able to save the sinner from his sin. But Abel's careful religious observance, according to the instruction of the deity whom he worshipped, show that only such worship, honor, and praise can be acceptable to God. What is it saying here? What I'm saying here is that we cannot devise a way of worship and God have to take it as it would. He instructed them how and what he wanted in his worship. Now Cain was not mindful of the commandment, and thus, by presenting that which God had not required, went about to establish a religion of his own. As he immediately afterwards slew his brother, it should be an object lesson to all that a worship according to the inclination of men, however good and innocent it may seem, cannot sanctify and save the worshipper. But instead, it takes him deeper into sin and final ruin. Those who are inclined to persecute the one who does not worship as they do are bowing down with Cain at the altar made of bricks. Such altars are the product of man by converting the form of the original, as though more attractive than the altar of stone. Many seem there is no such. Let me say that over. Such altars are the product of men by converting the form of the original, and though more attractive than the altar of stone, may seem, there is no sanctifying power in them, and their worship is as a deadly poison. Now, this is a strong statement. Evidence cannot be denied that both forms of worship, true and false, were introduced about the same time and run side by side. God said to them they should bring a lamb, slay the lamb, and offer the lamb to him. Cain chose to bring the fruits. So immediately you see God's worship and man worship. Anything that we have instituted, anything instituted by man that cannot be found in the scripture according to God's Levitical plan, it is not in harmony with God. And though it may seem nice to the eyes, it is a deadly poison because it cannot save the sinner. Now, one may join such an organization, but that person, because of themselves wanting to be saved, God will save that person. But it's not based upon the religion that was created by man. So these two worshippers, Cain and Abel, both seem innocent and were conducted the same way, with the distinction that one was in harmony with God, both and law, and the other was not. So this is why I'm saying that the Leviticus and the gospel go hand in hand. One does not function without the other. If you want to know if you are worshiping in spirit and truth according to what the gospel says, you must go back to the Leviticus. Okay. Now, the Sabbath originated in the Garden of God. And on the seventh day, God ended his work which he had made, and he rested on the seventh day from all his work which he had made. And God blessed the seventh day and sanctified, because in it he had rested from all his work which God created and made. Genesis 2, verse 2 to 3. Because of sin now, the sanctuary truth was added after the fall of Adam. Both truths are of vital importance. The Sabbath we keep to avoid sinning, but the sanctuary truth is to save us after we have had sinned. One is to keep us, sorry, the Sabbath we keep to avoid sinning, but the sanctuary truth is to save us after we have sinned. One is to keep us from falling, and the other is the remedy if we fall. If after receiving the knowledge of the truth, we break the Sabbath, we have sinned and deny the Creator, which is far more worse than the sin of Adam. By non compliance with the sanctuary truth, we refuse the plan or remedy and rejected the Savior of our salvation. You can read Desire of Ages, page 165. Remembering that the Sabbath is part of the Ten Commandments. Now, quoting from 2 Corinthians, verse 13, verse 5 says, examine yourselves, whether ye be in the faith. Prove your own selves. Know ye not your own self, how that Jesus Christ is in you, except ye be reprobates. So we have to prove ourselves according to the scriptures. You know, we as Seventh Adventists will do no wrong to heaven, no injustice to ourselves, if we would take an account of our Christian experience so that we may be able to tell where we are headed for. We as a people have been honored by heaven with a special message for the world for 4 generations. We call this message the three angel messages, which is a combination of the first, second, and third angel message according to Revelation 14, from verse 6 to 12. Now, the substance of this message we bear may be classified into 5 subjects. One, the time of the end. And two, the judgment, that is, or we call it the Day of Atonement, since 1844. Number three, the second coming of Christ in this generation. That is what we used to say in the beginning of the message. The end of the world in this generation. Sorry, in this generation. 4 generations have passed since then. So we dropped that slogan. Now, dropping the slogan would not change the message. It shows one thing, that we have apostatized and have gone back or turned back from where we first believed. The fourth part of the three angel message is the restoration of the true Sabbath. And the fifth is calling God's people out of Babylon idolatry, which we define to be Sunday worship, Easter, Christmas keeping, etc. Because they have refused to acknowledge and renounce the practice of these so-called Christian institutions or festivals, is the chief cause of the downfall of Babylon. The call is to depart from these pagan practices to the true worship of God. That is why we have the sanctuary too. But if we turn back from keeping or living out the sanctuary truth and go back to these forms of worship, we are in serious problems with God. Because the sanctuary truth is the law of our salvation after we have sinned. Now, Adam sinned by eating the forbidden fruit. Lucifer sinned by setting himself up as a god. He said, I will ascend unto heaven. I will exalt my throne above the stars of God. I will sit also upon the mount of the congregation in the sight of the Lord. I will ascend above the heights of the clouds. I will be like the Most High. So here we see Lucifer, his sin was exalting himself above God. But Adam, by eating the forbidden fruit, he broke the health law. Because God said, don't eat this, eat everything else except this one. And by so doing, he also indirectly broke the Ten Commandments law. For by trusting God's word, he dishonored him as a son, would dishonor his earthly father by disobedience, and thereby breaking the fifth commandment, according to Exodus 20:12. Therefore, Adam is guilty of violating 2 laws, while Lucifer broke only one, the Ten Commandment law, for he ate nothing that God had forbidden. Today, I am hearing a new slant in the church. Some are saying you cannot keep the law. Now, I'm missing something here. Adam was cast out for breaking the law. Would God take us back to Eden while breaking the law? I understand to a point. With all the Spirit of God in you, you cannot keep the law because the law is holy and man is carnal. But if after you come to Christ, you bury the old man and the Spirit of God in you, it calls now for obedience to the same law. And it is left with you and I to remedy every defect of our character. And what will point out our defects? The commandments. So by taking a truth and making it a lie, it's a dangerous thing to do. Because the Bible says, he that endureth to the end, the same shall be saved. How would you endure? By being obedient to all the laws. So Adam's transgression brought him to the grave, or return to the dust. For after eating of the forbidden fruit, it reacted upon his physical being, and thus the evil passed from father to son. But as Lucifer had not transgressed the law of health, natural death have had no power over him. Adam, by obedience to the provision made for his redemption, accepting the remedy, shall be made alive by resurrection. To Lucifer, for rejecting the same privilege and deceiving the human family, God said to him, thou shalt be brought down to hell, to the sides of the pit. Isaiah 14:50. Thou wast perfect in thy ways from the day that thou wast created, till iniquity was found in thee. I will destroy thee, O covering cherub, from the midst of the stones of fire. Thou hast defiled thy sanctuaries by the multitude of thy iniquities. By the iniquities of thy traffic, therefore, will I bring forth a fire from the midst of thee. It shall devour thee. I will bring thee to the ashes upon the earth in the sight of all them that behold thee. All they that know thee among the people shall be astonished at thee. Thou shalt be a terror, and never shall thou be any more. Ezekiel 28, from verse 15, 16, 18, and 19. So there is a lesson here that is worth our consideration. First is let the sinner place his finger on his sin. For by disobeying God's word in any form, you are breaking one or more of his eternal laws. I remember an elder in the church then that we would not be saved by obedience. That is the elder. That is being most reverenced by the congregation. And this was his words. This is our final opportunity to either accept or reject salvation today. Mercy is knocking at our door for the last time. Remember the message that we are preaching from 1844 is judgment. And according to Peter, he says, judgment begins in the house of God first. And if it begin at us, what then will it be of those that obey not the gospel? So if the judgment has begun, why are we asking for grace? Grace is unmerited favor or pardon that we do not deserve. If I have a case before court, a case that is punishable by death, and I'm granted a pardon, maybe by the president, it is no way the attorney general could bring up my case in court. I was granted a pardon. But if perchance my case comes up, it will mean something else took place. I had did something wrong after I had been granted pardon, and therefore I have to answer for it. So the main idea that we are in the judgment period from 1844, we are answerable for our deeds. Christ is no longer lying down on one side, bearing the iniquity of the people. We must answer for our sin because why? We as a people has the sanctuary too. I will elaborate on that further on. So our attention is again called to the chart. Now the double tracks, let me point it out here. This track here and this track here, this is what I'm calling the double track. That comes down all the way here. Right? Right. So we come back here. Right. So the double track passing by Abel, coming down, and around the cross. Right? Shows that the Sabbath, this is here for the double track, coming down here, up to this point. That shows that the Sabbath and the sanctuary truth are eternal and divine, and that the recognition of their sacredness have never been thrown out of the church of God until 508 AD, at which time the goat with his great horn cast down the truth to the ground. So the Sabbath truth and the sanctuary truth together from Abel worship bring us right down to 508, at which time the papacy cast the truth to the ground. The papacy was not cast yet, for it was 508. Those in authority, as it were, cast the truth to the ground, and then the papacy was formed in 538. But, looking at the chart again, but we have 508 at this point, where we see the ram trample the sanctuary and the truth to the ground. This is according to Daniel chapter 8. All right? And right. But in the year 1844, God showed by the power of the three angels, these three angels here, which is three angel messages. So God showed by the power of the three angel messages was again brought to light. Sanctuary and the Sabbath. It is evident that the Sabbath and the sanctuary, the law and the gospel are inseparable. You cannot separate the sanctuary from the gospel or the gospel from the sanctuary truth. They are separable. Right. Now, point one. If we have been obedient to God's word in any form, will you know at the last call say, Lord, here am I, take my stony heart, give me a heart of flesh? Because remember in what time we are doing, eh? We are in the antitypical day of atonement. Notice, according to the sanctuary truth, on this day, if you have any sin unconfessed, you would have been cut off from the sanctuary. So imagine now we are in the antitypical day of atonement from 1844 and still having sin recorded against us in the sanctuary. Look at it from this angle. Christ is in the sanctuary making an atonement for those who have confessed the sins. He could call their names before the Father. But imagine what is happening here. From Adam's time right down to our time, what was going on here in the sanctuary, the cleaning of the sanctuary, the cleansing of the sanctuary was the names of every unworthy person, those who entered the service of God and did not endure to the end, that person's name was blotted out from the book of life. Those who endured to the end, names was retained in the book of life. So that is going on in the books in heaven. But when it starts with the living, which will be a different matter, but we who are alive at this time, supposed to be living in a way that is as if we are in heaven already, living without sin. Because remember, he is cleaning out the sanctuary. On the day of atonement was to clean out the sanctuary. So imagine Christ is removing unworthy names from in the books in heaven. If I am sinning now on earth, while he's cleaning the sanctuary in heaven, where is my sin going? One thing I know for sure, it will be going on my own head. Because he's cleaning the sanctuary, he's not going to put back more sin in the sanctuary. That subject is of vital importance that we should study. Also, we will plead that he write his law in our hearts. Again, the angel is waiting to seal you and I with the seal of God. Will we rather choose darkness than light? As the angel is lightening the earth with his glory, will you let him lighten your heart? And yet a little while, and God's truth shall triumph. Why should you and I remain behind? Will you stubbornly worship like Cain with a religion that cannot save? Will you disobey the Savior who died for you and honor the adversary, the enemy for your soul, or the enemy of your soul? By keep on saying that you are a sinner would mean that the blood of Christ have not done anything for us. Because his blood is able to cleanse us from all sin. And since we have come to the sanctuary truth, which is to cleanse us from sin, and we are saying that we still remain a sinner, we are giving glory to the enemy of the Creator. And that puts us in a very bad light. You are not boasting, but you're supposed to show the victories that we have in Christ. So Christ died because of sin. The Father had to send His Son to die, that is show how serious sin is. And Christ came, and He have done everything possible for us to live the overcomer's life. And today I'm still saying I am a sinner, saved by grace. Okay. What happened to the new birth? At the new birth, at baptism, you bury the old man which you come up new in Christ. From your mother's birth, which is the natural birth, you be born sinners. But from your spiritual birth, you are born righteous according to the word. And you're supposed from then on to walk in uprightness in a holy life, overcoming every obstacle, every sin in your life, so that he can truly call on name before the Father as he was able to make the boast of Job. Why should you perish? Just a little while. In the dark millennium, why should we perish? So, we still following the chart here. So we reach here 1798, 1844. 1 minute, hold with me there. Will we be ready when Jesus comes to take his saints to a mansion above? Now remember I said this here is true worship coming here. It went down, the sanctuary truth was shut to the ground from 508. 1844, it was restored. And we supposed to be restored with this same truth. So this, you have true worship, and on the side of it, you have false worship. This is what Cain introduced. False worship on the side coming down. So if we are not worshiping according to the message of these three angels here, we are worshiping with Cain. Now, you have, let me change this chart here 1 minute. From the beginning of, oh, sorry. We have this chart here from the beginning. We have the lion, we have the bear, we have the leopard, we have the beast with the 10 horns, the nondescript beast. And this is the same nondescript beast in three different forms. 10 horns, the one with 7 horns with a little horn, and then we have this horn here, which is of Revelation 13, this beast of Revelation 13, having the body, the face of a lion here, the body, the feet of a bear here, and the body of a leopard with this one, with the third beast. And it had 10 horns with that of Rome. So this beast today here, the leopard-like beast, is the melting pot of all the other beasts. So all the characteristics and the forms of worship of those nations before is existing in this one here today. That is why the scriptures say all the world wondered after the beast. The wounded heads. Now notice that over the heads was the name blasphemy. Right? So if this beast came up in the Protestant period, because this here is pagan Rome, this one is ecclesiastical Rome, which ended in 1798. So this one will come up after 1798, showing the Protestant world. And the heads will represent the churches in the Protestant world, the 6 Protestant bodies that was called by God. But except you have 7 heads. So the first head, the head with the womb, would be Catholicism. Right? Then the other one of the heads would be Luther. Next would be Wesley. The fourth one will be Knox. The fifth one will be Campbell. And the sixth will be Miller. So, will be Miller. No, let me get that right. You will have Catholicism, you'll have Lutherans, you'll have the Wesleyans, you have you have the Wesleyans, and we had the Presbyterians, right? We had the Baptists, we had the Millerite movement, and we have Seventh-day Adventists, or Seventh-day Adventists and Miller is all conjointly, it's almost like the same. The message started with Miller and continued with Ellen White in the Seventh-day Adventists. So these two last ones make up the seven heads. But over the heads is blasphemy. Blasphemy is equivalent to hypocrisy, and hypocrisy is pretending what we are not. The Bible says, I know the blasphemy of them that say they are Jews and are not, but of the synagogue of Satan. By doing the things of the world in the name of God is blaspheme against God. This is why earlier I said we have to check ourselves by the word. Right? So, yeah. So coming back to this point here now, Baal worship started way back in Nimrod day. And it's right down even to our time under the leopard light. We will take notice that the keeping of the truth is the train to the city of God. Let us hear the conclusion of the whole matter. Fear God and keep his commandment, for this is the whole duty of man. Remember, we spoke also about coming away. When the message came in 1844, was we supposed to turn away from all the heathen practices, all the heathen forms of worship from within the church. So the Babylonians had a worship of their own, right? And that same worship was passed on to the Medes, the Greeks, the Romans, and it is even in our day, right? One of the gods of the Babylonians was the god of the harvest, and they had a name of Ashti or Ashta or Easter. That same god was in the time of the let's say the same God continue coming down in time here from under Rome, Medo Persia, Greece, sorry, Babylon, the Medes and Persians, the Grecians, the Romans, and in our day. For today, under different guise, we serve or we worship these same gods. Once they keeping the festivals of the world, most of which is showing homage to the gods from these times. They just will have different names today, but it is the same satanic worship that we continue even in our day. As I was showing earlier with some of these different charts here, this here, these, all of this, and this here, which is our main symbol, is of pagan origin and heavy. This is one of the Luciferian heaviest symbol here. This triangle. If you notice, the whole format of our logo is in a triangle format. Come down here, 3 points. If you notice here, this Luciferian movement uses the same symbol, which they use to invoke 72 demons. I don't know how we get this symbol. We have removed from these 3 angels here, which is represent a people with a heaven sent message, and have gone to this symbol here. If the keeping of the truth is the train to the city of God, those who are worshiping under this symbol, tell me, where are they going? So in 1 Peter 4:17, we are told, for judgment, for the time is come that judgment must begin at the house of God. And if it first begin at us, what shall the end be of them that obey not the gospel? In Ezekiel chapter 9, now remember I said judgment begins at the house of God first. So in Ezekiel chapter 9, verse 1, we read, He cried also in mine ear with a loud voice, saying, Cause them that have charge over the city to draw near, even every man with his destroying weapon in his hand. And behold, 6 men came from the way of the higher gate which lieth towards the north, and every man a slaughter weapon in his hand. And one man among them was clothed with linen. Let me come back here a bit, enlarge this. So you have first angel, second angel, third angel. This angel that was in the linen here is the same as this one of Revelation 7 that is to do the sealing. We'll get back to that. So, so the one man among them with the linen, with the writer's ink on by his side, and they went in and stood beside the brazen altar. And the glory of God of Israel was gone up from the cherub. Right. Whereupon he was to the threshold of the house, and he called to the man clothed with linen, which had a writer's ink on by his side, and he said unto him, Go through the midst of the city, through the midst of Jerusalem, and set a mark upon the forehead of the men that sigh and cry for all the abomination that be done in the midst thereof. What's the abomination? Just now, I'll come back, sorry. Come back to that. And to the other he said in my hearing, Go ye after him through the city and smite. Let not your eyes peer, neither have ye pity. So he have to slay these 5 angels with the slaughter weapon, has to slay all those who were fostering or practicing abomination in the church. And may I say, at the time that Ezekiel had his vision, the 10 tribes had already been scattered among the nations. It was only the 2 tribes that had remained and was in captivity in Babylon. So Ezekiel never took any message to the 12 tribes. You remember that after they went back to rebuild Jerusalem, they had 70 weeks to make an end of sin, to bring in, make an end of iniquity, bring in everlasting righteousness, seal up the prophecy, and so on, which they never did. Until they end up until the coming of the Messiah, they slay the Messiah. So Ezekiel prophecy is yet to be fulfilled. And it will, and why is it Israel, the church of God today, is the descendant of the Christian church, which started with the Jews. The 3,000 that were baptized in the first part of Pentecost was Jews. So the Christian church is the descendant of the Jewish church. And God always called his church Israel. So if there's a prophecy yet to be fulfilled, referring to Israel, obviously it will be referring to God's church of this day. And since the Seventh-day Adventist church is the last Protestant body called by God, and the call for the sealing of the 144,000, which is of the 12 tribes of Israel, is from within the Seventh-day Adventist church, that says everything that we want to know. That the Church of God, the Seventh-day Adventist Church today, is called Israel by God. Let me say a little about the angels before we move on. Right. So that we will have an understanding what we're speaking about. Because it's of importance that we understand the work of the angel. Right? In Revelation 7, the angel ascending from the east is as important as the first, second, and third angel of Revelation 14, from verse 6 to 11. Also, the mighty angel of Revelation 18:1, which comes with a loud cry at a given time. This angel of Revelation 7 cannot be the third angel, for John explained of them different. Now, what I'm saying is, the angel of Revelation 7, he comes to seal, put a mark upon those who sign and crying for all, not some, all the abomination. That is the only way you and I will have the seal. So you must know what the abomination is for you to cry and say against the abomination so that you can get the seal. I showed some abomination. I gave a list of partial abomination, and also I showed very crucial abomination that is existing and still existing in the church today. You just have to go back through the study. Or I could even go back again, show some of the abomination. This here is for sun worship, sun and sun worship. This circle and this pyramid is sun worship. If you're worshiping according to this calendar here, let me try to enlarge it. Okay, this is not it. Right. If we worship according to this yearly calendar that the Illuminati uses and Freemason, you only divide a year into 4 parts with 13 weeks to each, with 13 weeks each. This is the calendar or the real calendar of the Illuminati. We have divided the year into 4 parts at 13 weeks each. According to their calendar, on the 13th on the 13th week, there always a heavy blood sacrifice. This is a serious satanic worship time period. And for some reason, our church worship and have some of our festival at the same time. We use the flame, they use the flame. They use an open Bible, we use the open Bible. And I also give reasons for these things. So once you are following these satanic or demonic symbols, this is the fella that we are worshiping. Let me see if I can hide that. This is the man you are worshiping. To him you are giving glory when you follow all these pagan times and worship ceremonies. Okay? So let me get back to what I am saying. Hold 1 minute. Right. So this year is still showing here the judgment that begins in the house of God, right? Now the three angels of Revelation 7 is flying in the midst of heaven. Let me go back to this symbol here. These three angels fly here, flying in the midst of heaven. This is what the scripture says. Or where the sun stands at noon, right? But the one of Revelation 7, which would be this one here, is ascending from the east. When you read the scripture, or the rising of the sun, you see the sun coming up from the east. The message of this angel has never been understood at any time. This angel here with the seal, right? No proclaim by this denomination or any other people, and only theories have been advanced. So it is evident that this truth and other truth must come at the right time. Oh wait, hold on a minute. Sorry about that. Hold on. Yeah. Okay. So of the three angels of Revelation 46 to 11, John writes, and I saw another angel fly in the midst of them, and the third angel followed them. These angels, following each other, were seen flying in the midst where the sun would be at midday in its full strength. There is a difference between these angels, and the one of Revelation 7, as I was saying here. You have this angel here, and you have these three angels here, and this one of Revelation 7, a different thing. And the one also of Revelation 18, which is this angel here, which is enlightening the earth with its glory. If you notice that God using angels to symbolize his messages, we change that. We removed from the angels and we came to this. What does this represent? Well, I already told you. I don't know what you have to say about this, what it really represents. It does not highlight this sealing angel, nor this angel that is enlightening the earth with its glory. It cuts you off from any advanced light. That is why you will hear members in the church will say, we have no more light to come. Why? Because we allow this to take the place of this angel here, Revelation 7, and the one of Revelation 18. For John said he saw the angel come, that is to stand upon the earth. The angel mentioned here is nearby. That's the one of Revelation 18. Right? But the other three, that will be these three here, are not as powerful as the one of Revelation 18. Because the one of Revelation 18 is on the earth itself, whereas these are flying in the midst of it. But these three are flying and continue to fly. What it means that the messages does not end. It starts and go right down to the end of time. But what happened? The message intensified. First, you have the one of Revelation 7 that comes. This angel with the seal, with the writer ink on, is the seal of people. The one of Revelation 18 is the lighting, the outpouring of the latter rain power to lighten the earth with its glory. And like I said, the present symbol does not show that. Right? And the compiling of the symbols, the triangle, flame, cross, open Bible, and circle has no present truth lesson. And throws out of the work and throws out the work of Revelation 7 and Revelation 8. Also, they have mocked the personage of Christ, according to Ezekiel chapter 8, verse 17, whereby they put the branch to the nose. This is what we have done. So it becomes necessary now for Ezekiel 9 to take place. He says, slay utterly old and young, both maids and little children, and women, but come not near any man upon whom is the mark, and begin at my sanctuary. Then they began at the ancient men which were before the house. That will be the leadership. Conference president, everybody starting at the top. And he said unto them, defile the house, fill the courts with the slain, Go ye forth, and they went forth and slew in the city. And it came to pass, while they were slaying them, I was left. That is Ezekiel is saying that after the slaying, he alone was left. And I fell upon my face and cried and said, Ah, Lord God, wilt thou destroy all the residue of Israel in thy pouring out of thy fury upon Jerusalem? Then he said unto me, The iniquity of the house of Israel and Judah is exceeding great, and the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say, The Lord had forsaken the earth, and the Lord seeth not. And as for me, my eye also shall not spare, neither will I have pity, but I will recompense their ways upon their heads. So if God is to recompense your ways or our ways on our heads, it means that grace has ended. And behold, the man clothed with the linen which had the writer ink on by his side, report the matter, saying, I have done as thou hast commanded me. This is clear. This hardly need any explanation, but I will still give a little explanation. The angel having charge over the city, which is Jerusalem or the church, not of the world, not of Babylon. Even an altogether uninformed Christian knows that the term Jerusalem, Judah, and Israel means the church, never even as much as imply the world. They have always meant the church and always will remain the church, for that is what they are. The slaughter of Ezekiel 9 is positively not the same as the seven last plagues, as some would try to make you believe it's the seven last plagues. That's according to Revelation 16. Because the plagues fall on Babylon, but the slaughter on Judah and Jerusalem. Moreover, the angel of Ezekiel 9 slays everyone who does not have the mark. But the plagues do not slay anyone. So by arresting Moses' writing, the Jews tried to refute Christ's teaching. And it is certain that if the Laodiceans continue to arrest Sister White's writing in trying to refute the message for today, which is the message that came here in 1930 with the message of the sealing, their end shall be even more mournful than was the Jews. Concerning what she says about Ezekiel 9. Let's see. In Testimonies, Volume 3, and in page 267. Also, Volume 5, page 211. Also, Great Controversy, 656 to 657. What is showing Ezekiel 9 pictures the judgment of the living in the house of God, according to 1 Peter 4:17, which will be this chart here. Judgment begin in the house of God, right? According to 1 Peter 4:17. The sealing of the saints and the destruction of the wicked in the church. The church can never continue commingling right up to the coming of Christ. Never. It cannot happen. It's only Satan, he cast out water out of his mouth as a flood to cause the woman to be carried away. He would like to keep that flood there, but it cannot continue. It cannot stay there forever. Because why? The church have to go forth without spot or wrinkle or any such. Right. So not in the world, but in Judah and in Israel, in the church, the iniquity is great. and therefore the slaughter takes place. Now that is sounding real hard, but it becomes necessary now. We used to carry a sign when I now baptized in 1972. In the church, we had this logo, three angels flying in the midst of heaven, and also above it, the end of the world in this generation. That those logos are gone. The sign has been removed, which will mean that we no longer believe that. We are more with the popular doctrine, just believe on Jesus today. The slaughter must take place. There must be a separation in the church, the goat from the sheep, the wheat from the tares, and so on. Moreover, the multitude that is burned and fostering the abomination are unconscious that they are acting as if the Lord has forsaken the earth, as if he had left it for them to run it and to do with it, and to run it and to do with his people as they please. You know, some go so far to say who could come to church, who could sit down in the church, who can't sit down in the church. Since when God left his church for men to do that? It has never been man's privilege to put people out of the church for speaking the word of truth. Now that went on, eh? The people see that. All the opposers of truth have done that. And all brethren today have seen it fit to do the same thing. But the purification of the church, the judgment is, though, through the prophet Daniel in chapter 7, verse 10, called the judgment. And in chapter 8 and 14 is called the cleansing of the sanctuary. What I'm saying here, Daniel chapter 7, verse 10 calls it the judgment, and in chapter 8 also calls it the cleansing of the sanctuary. For it shall come to pass, reveals the prophet, that he that is left in Zion, and he that remaineth in Jerusalem, that is after the sinners are taken away, shall be called holy. Every one that is written among the living in Jerusalem, when the Lord shall have washed away the filth of the daughters of Zion, and shall have purged the blood of Jerusalem from the midst thereof by the spirit of judgment and by the spirit of burning. And the Lord will create upon every dwelling place of Mount Zion, and upon her assemblies, a cloud and a smoke by day, and a shining of a flaming fire by night. For upon all the glory shall be a defense. And there shall be a tabernacle for a shadow in the day, in the daytime, and from the heat, and for a place of refuge, and for a covert from storm and from the rain. You can read Isaiah chapter 4, verses 3 to 6. Now, these prophetic passages, which certainly forewarn that shortly the sinners will be taken away from Jerusalem, the filth of the daughter of Zion be washed away. I didn't say that, that is written in the scripture. Thus, they promise that only the righteous from the four corners of the earth will have a part in a forthcoming antitypical exodus. The Passover too, in which perish all firstborn of man and beast that were found in the dwelling which had not the blood on their doorposts, for spoke of an antitypical Passover in which all who are left without a mark because of not sighing and crying. If you don't cry and sigh for the abomination, you are part of the abomination. For the abomination in their midst will surely fall under the slaughter weapon of the angels of Ezekiel. You in in order to receive the seal, this is the condition. We must sigh and cry for the abomination. Now, some folks say the message we have is going out into all the world and preach the gospel. Yes, that was the message the disciples went forward with. But we forget that there was a falling away, as I was showing from 508. Right down to 1798, the truth was trampled. The reformers come and raise back the downtrodden truth: faith, grace, Holy Spirit, baptism, sanctuary, Sabbath. So Seventh-day Adventist has all the sanctuary truth: faith, grace, Holy Spirit, baptism, sanctuary, and Sabbath. So today, the Seventh-day Adventist Church has all the sanctuary truth. So if there's going to be a cleansing, tell me which church that this cleansing will take place. Now remember too that we boast that we are God's people. So if the Passover is a type, it must take place within the people who have the sanctuary truth. And the requirement to get the seal now is to say cry for the abomination. We had the three angel message coming forth in 1844. By 1850, we got the Laodicean message, which says the message to the Laodicean is a startling denunciation and is applicable to the people of God at the present time. So something happened between 1844 and 1850. It meant somewhere we had gone contrary to God's will. So soon, 1888, more light came to us. We turned it down. 1929, more light came. We turned it down. 1930, we turned it down. So there's one thing remain now. Cry and sigh for the abomination in the church, or we will be cut down. Christ, though, in one of his parables, likened the cleansing to a harvest in which the tares, the sinners, are burned, and the church and the wheat, the saints are put into the barn, into a purified kingdom church. Next, he likened it to a net from which, after being drawn to shore, the bad sinners are cast out, and the good fish saints are put in a vessel. When those who do not receive the mark, and thus not the seal, are put away, then the church will appear, fair as the moon, clear as the sun, and terrible as an army with banners, according to Prophet and Kings, page 725. And only those who have withstood temptation in the strength of the mighty one will be permitted to act a part in proclaiming the third angel message when it shall have swelled into a loud cry. That's taken from Review and Herald, November 19, 1908. Let me make this large. Yeah. Right. So only those who survive from the sealing here will have a part to proclaim the loud cry message. The balance will not be part of this movement here. No way, because the requirement is to cry and sigh for all the abomination in the church. If you are not doing that, you cannot get the seal. Therefore, you will have no part in proclaiming this message, which is the same stranger message that has swelled into a loud cry. So, then said he unto me, The iniquity of the house of Judah is exceeding great, and the land is full of blood, and the city full of perverseness. For they say the Lord hath forsaken the earth, and the Lord seeth not. As for me, my eyes shall not fear, neither will I have pity. For I will recompense their ways upon their head. And the man, and behold, the man clothed with linen, which had the writer inconed by his side, reported the matter, saying, I have done, as thou hast commanded me. The promise to purify Jerusalem and Judah stand as sure as any promise in the word of God. And the term Judah and Jerusalem, Israel, cannot be applied to anything but to the church, the place where everyone should sigh and cry against the abomination. And those who do not sigh and cry are to be left without the mark. Remember the marking on the doorpost on the night of the Passover. Those who do not sigh and cry are left without the mark. And the angels who have charge of the church will smite every one of them, old and young, both maids and little children and women. Only those who have the mark will shall be left. They are the remnant. Remember, we have this thing, a remnant of the remnant will be saved. Right. So you have Seventh-day Adventists as the remnant church. But from within this remnant church, because of the commingling with wheat and tears, and of the dragon flood, and of the abomination that is existing, a remnant of them will be saved. And the angels are thus to take care of both the wheat and the tears. Yes. There is to be a clean riddance of every sort of tear, just as anciently there was a clean riddance of all the firstborn in the household that failed to paint the doorposts with the sacrificial lamb of the evening, on the evening of the Passover in the land of Egypt. So shall it be at the commencement of the harvest in the purification of the church. The angel shall smite everyone who fostered the abomination in the midst thereof. If you know, if you see, if you do not sigh and cry for the abomination, you become partaker of the abomination. You need not say you don't know what abomination, you have to look for the abomination. Because the Bible, in order for you to get a seed, you have to know what is the abomination in order for you to sigh and cry for the abomination. This is the requirement to get the seed today. In Noah day, anybody going to the ark would have been saved. In our day, sigh and cry for the abomination, and you receive the seed. So, when is this separation of the wicked from among the righteous to take place? Jesus placed it in the end of the world. He says, let both grow together until the harvest. And in the time of harvest, I will say to the reapers, gather ye together first the tares, and bind them in bundles to burn them, but gather the wheat into my barn. Again, the kingdom of heaven is likened unto a net that was cast in the sea, and gathered of every kind, which when it was full, they draw it to shore, and sat down and gathered the good in the vessels, but cast the bad away. Matthew 13, verse 13, 47, and 48. This is what the parables are saying to us. The judgment in the form of parables. Remember what the disciples asked Christ? Master, how come you're preaching in parables now? He said, it is only for you to know. So, if you want to know the will of God, you got to search. You got to go on your knees and ask God to show you. The truth of God is never on the surface. You have to do it with like the woman who had lost the coin. She searched her whole house till she finds it. Today we have eternal life written among the pages of the Bible. We have to search for it and follow all its directions. So the tears they are burned, as bad fish cast out. This is the way in which the kingdom comes, says the Lord. And what is the harvest if not the judgment of the living? The work which separates the one from the other. Now, the true people of God, says in Persian, who have the spirit of the work of the Lord and the salvation of souls at heart, will ever view sin in its real sinful character. They will always be on the side. They will always be on the side of the faithful and plain dealing with sin, which easily beset the people of God, especially in the closing work for the church, in the sealing time of the 140 and 4,000, who are to stand without fault before the throne of God. Will they feel most deeply the wrongs of God's professed people? This is forcibly set forth by the prophet's illustration of the last work under the figure of men, each having slaughter weapons in his hand. This is from Testimonies for the Church, Volume 3, page 266. So, on which side do we stand today? Now you can clearly see that those who escaped the slaughter foreseen in Ezekiel 9 are the 144,000, the future servants of God, the first fruit of the harvest, resulting from the cleansing of the sanctuary, the church, the work of the investigative judgment of the living. This work and this truth, therefore, are the most important for the day and should wholeheartedly be heeded if one expects to receive the mark and the seal and escape the slaughter, survive the great and dreadful day of the Lord. Or neglect to stand cry for the abomination in the church would mean our eternal loss. We dare not allow anything to divert our attention from this great and glorious work for the saints, and most dreadful and inglorious for the sinner. This work must engross the whole mind, the whole attention. Early writing, page 180. Nothing should be allowed to interfere with your eternal welfare. No, not for a moment, for the day is far spent. Do not let friends, relatives, husbands, wives make you lose out on this truth. Let no one try to convince you to do anything else. We have nothing to lose to believe this truth. Nothing to lose, but everything to lose by rejecting it. For this is not my word, this is what is written. This is what the scriptures say. But the promise to the faithful is, for your shame you shall have double, and for your confusion ye shall rejoice in their portion. Therefore in their land they shall possess the double. Everlasting joy shall be unto them. Isaiah 61, verse 7. When we continue in our next study,